I think this is something kind of fun we could do throughout the season is kind of check up on these 3-point guards because I do think they're all pretty intriguing prospects in their own right.
Yep.
And I think they're probably going to be compared against each other for the rest of their careers. So that is, of
Yep.
course, Tyrese Halliburton, Killian Hayes, and LaMelo Ball. So I'll go
There
through
it
and
is.
kind of
There it is.
I'll kind of give my observations on what I've seen so far from the 3 different guys. So
Sounds good.
Halliburton has probably looked the most NBA ready and the best of the 3 guys. He's putting up the most countable stats and the most points right now, while having like a really low usage rate. Is only about 12% for the 3-1 Kings. So his shooting splits have been great. 56, 50, and 100% from the free throw line is actually great. He's playing 27 minutes per game. The Kings are kind of a feisty team.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Kings team that almost made the playoffs a couple of years ago, where it was just a collection of players that all played really hard, and you weren't really sure if they all worked together, but somehow it kind of did. And one of the things that I was really interested in last game is the way they treat Halliburton like a veteran already. There was a shot on the bench. When they beat the Nuggets yesterday, there was a shot on the bench of him talking, and everyone was listening. The coaches all around him, all the other guys were sitting there like looking up, like, Tyrese, tell us what to do, man. At the end of the game, they were clearing out. They had De'Aaron Fox in the corner.
That's
like
big.
3-point shooter.
That's really big.
And they were like, yeah, like, let's let Halliburton cook. Like, let's see what's going on. Like Harrison Barnes grabbed a rebound at the end of the game and just handed it off to Halliburton. He's like, here, you do it now.
Yeah. No, that's huge. That's a big
I don't
point.
think he's going to be like the number one offensive option, or like a super, a guy that you just hand the ball to and say, hey, create. I don't think he's that. But what he is a solid NBA player who is in the right spots, knows what to do, knows how to have an effect on games. And I think that's something really big. So while I don't think his ceiling is perhaps as high as these other 2 guys, I think he is the most NBA ready right now. And he's probably going to contribute to winning the most at the start of this season. So what are your thoughts on Halliburton so far?
I think that for the Kings franchise, who've really been lacking a leader, I don't even know when they've had a leader, like even like probably
Boogie.
2000s. Yeah, I guess like even he wasn't a leader. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
the intangibles that he's bringing is huge. I think what really stuck out to me was his good shooting. I just wasn't expecting him to shoot that well in the NBA, and
his shot's a little weird too.
Yeah. I think he tweeted out about it, about like not NBA ready 3 or whatever. Like I think he shooted like something ridiculous, like 50% or like 56% from 3, which is like I don't know how like sustainable that is, but if he can hit shots, like I think he might be what we all thought Evan Turner was going to be, like a big guard. Shot creator, like good intangible. He probably projects well on defense. I think, I think he could be really, really good. I don't even think that his ceiling isn't as high as the other 2. Like if he can hit shots, then I don't know. I would think he probably has all-star potential. Like if he can hit threes consistently.
I mean, Halliburton is a good team defensive player. Whether he can hold up in isolation play or, when it gets like, obviously the Kings aren't at this point yet, but once they get into the playoffs and it's kind of like pick and choose the worst defender and attack them, whether he can hold up in that situation, we'll have to see. I think he probably needs to put a little bit more weight on and get a little bit more polish as a defensive player. But
that'll come.
I've really liked what I've seen from him so far.
Yeah, me too.
I can't really say the same about Killian Hayes, and especially about the way the Pistons have been using Killian Hayes. It makes me really upset the way the Pistons have been using Killian Hayes. So it's not great right now. So his splits right now are 5 points, rebound and a half, and 3.5 assists through the first 4 games.
Nothing.
Shooting 27.6% from the field, 23% from 3, and 50% from the free throw line. And he's playing 22 minutes a game. And he's kind of playing, although he does do a really good job of playing at his own speed and playing at his own pace, where sometimes it looks like he's kind of, not in a bad way, it looks like he's moving slower than the other players because he's kind of playing at his own pace. He's getting to his moves. He plays at a really nice pace. But I also see a guy who's playing a little bit nervous. In the one game where they really let him get some run, which was the Hawks game, at the end of the game, they just kind of gave him the ball and said, hey, let's see what you can do there. And that's when you saw the best of Killian Hayes, when you saw him being an offensive creator, when you see him making these creative passes out of the drives, when you see him doing his little step back move, that's when he's at his best. In the other games, they've kind of had a short leash for him, and it looks like he's playing a little nervous. He'd get the ball and he'd kind of bobble it a little bit. he's a little, he's not sure if he's going to take that shot. And I think part of the reason for that is that they've been playing Derrick Rose like he's an MVP or something. Derrick Rose has the #1 usage rate on the Pistons right now. They're playing him 29 minutes per game. They are burning this guy out, like playing Derrick Rose like he's the franchise player for them. And I just don't. So I was really thinking about it. I was like, what are they doing with this? Like, they just picked this guy at 7. Why are they not letting him get some run over Derrick Rose, who you already know?
I think they want to make the playoffs. I think they just want to make the playoffs.
I think it's either that, or I want to give them some benefit of the doubt and say that they're somewhat competent as a franchise. I don't know if they even deserve that, but I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say maybe they're playing Derrick Rose to try and build up his trade value, right? Try and build him up, play him all these minutes, get him his points, and then trade him off. Like, maybe that's what it is. Like,
I guess
there's got to be something going on there, because I don't understand why they've been giving Killian Hayes such a short leash and not really running anything in the offense through him. Also, just a quick little nugget I saw. Who do you think is #2 on the Pistons in usage rate right now?
Mason Plumlee.
It's actually Josh Jackson, believe it or not. Josh Jackson at like an absurd usage rate right now.
Hey man, he's a top 3 pick.
So and Blake is like way down there on the usage rate too. So basically, it makes no sense what the Pistons are doing. I really don't like the way they're handling Killian Hayes. It makes me really concerned that in a couple of years, some team is going to be able to trade for him as like an emotionally damaged player like Markelle Fultz.
Who's like a good player now.
Who's been good for Orlando. Yeah. So I'm concerned about Killian Hayes.
I think that they probably think they're a playoff team, but I'm sure once they lose a couple more games, they'll let them run.
I hope so. I hope they trade Derrick Rose, and I hope
maybe
they let
the
Killian Hayes cook, because I love his footwork. Like he has that like little hardened step back down like so nicely. It looks really smooth when he does it. So
okay.
That brings us to our last point guard in the checkup on LaMelo Ball so
been
far.
Out on him since the beginning, since the preseason.
So the Hornets are 1-2 right now. LaMelo is putting up a 6, 4, and 3, very reminiscent of a similar Lonzo stat line.
Lonzo, I think, had more assists.
He's been a good rebounder, which is kind of cool. Like he's been really crashing the boards hard. Hey, it's fun. It's a little something fun. His shooting splits are not great. He's 33, 40, and 50% right now. Playing 17 minutes a game, so they haven't been giving him like a ton of run. They've been playing the other guards a little bit more than him. But at the same time, they have been using him a lot. He's #2 on the team in usage rate. So they've been giving him the ball in his hands, and he has made some really creative. He's made some really creative passes. He's been showing that has good instincts for rebounding. So I think those are both 2 really positive things. The biggest thing that I've seen from LaMelo so far is that the shot will take a lot of time to develop. The way he shoots it, the way his legs kind of flick out at the end, like it looks bad. It just looks bad. It's just
not promising.
But he's been very reserved on his shot selection. The first game, he was kind of taking like quick shots where he'd be kind of moving so quick. It's almost the opposite of Hayes, where Hayes is very controlled and methodical in his movements. LaMelo's kind of like quick titch, like I'm going to the basket. I got to get this shot up really quickly. I got to throw this floater up before I get blocked. I got to shoot this like 3 really quickly before everyone comes back. So I think LaMelo is going to be the biggest project of the 3. But once LaMelo realizes that he has time to take those shots and get a little bit more settled, that he doesn't have to be so quick on his step back and getting his shot up really quickly. When he can realize, okay, I can take a second just to adjust myself and line up for it. I think he can still get there. I think the Hornets have shown a good amount of trust in him. I like that he's, even if he's not scoring as well he probably anticipated, I like that he's been a good playmaker and that he's getting his stats via rebounding. So I think I've been mostly positive on what I've seen from LaMelo so far. I think it's going to take a while for him to develop and be a 20-point scorer. He might never, ever get there. And he might just be kind of a replica of what his brother is, which is pretty funny, honestly, that he's probably just going to be Lonzo. Now, what do you think of LaMelo so far? Because I know you're a lot lower than him.
Well, all right. I mean, to be fair to him, we did say in the preview that a big part of having Rozier and Devontae Graham there is to bring him on slowly, let him have some stability. So the 17 minutes per game isn't necessarily like, oh, he's not good, that's why they're not playing him. But I think the biggest pushback to me about him is his lack of athleticism holds him back on the defensive end. And I think that the reason why I like Lonzo Ball so much is at the end of the day, I know that he will be a good defensive player. And he makes an impact not only as a passer, but on that side of the court too. And my worry with LaMelo is if this jump shot never really develops, he's not a good defender. And he's not even like, he doesn't even necessarily ever, like in all of the film and every level he's ever played at, he's never ever wanted to play defense, like ever. And to expect that for that to change in the NBA, I think is just like a huge ask. Like he's just not a high energy guy. He doesn't seem like a very, very hard worker. And if he's not giving you more on the offensive end, I would just be really nervous about his ability to stick. And like, I just don't see it. He doesn't have top end speed. He doesn't have a jump shot that like he can pass. But the issue with it is once everyone realizes that your only attribute is passing, it's Lonzo, it's Ben Simmons. And it's just like, okay, let's pack the paint. Let's let you take this three. Like, let's let you take this mid-range jump shot. What are we worried about? Like,
should we readjust our expectations for LaMelo, right? He's not going to be like a number one option, score, give him to the ball, get out of the way, and let's score, right?
I think he's off for
Can he be Ricky Rubio with better rebounding? Absolutely. I think that's a solid point guard. That's a solid point guard in this league with the potential to be a better player than that. But I think he probably projects as a better rebounding Ricky Rubio, which is a fine player to have. I don't think we should like shit on him. Like he's a fine player. He'll be. I think what I've seen from him, he will not be out of the league in a couple of years, which I think is what everyone was concerned about, right? LaMelo will be in this league for he'll have a career. He will have a career. I guarantee you he will have a career. But we need to temper expectations for him until the jump shot, that he can prove that he can consistently make jump shots, which could take 5 to 7 years. It could take 2 years. It could take his entire career. But I think what I've seen from LaMelo and from Halliburton makes me think that they will both have long NBA careers. I'm not sure about Killian Hayes yet. Once he gets a little bit more of an opportunity, then maybe we can see. But I think so. What would you rank these players at right now? I think I'd put Halliburton 1, I'd put LaMelo 2, and I'd put Killian Hayes 3 based upon.
I think that's probably where I put it now too. But I think it's like Halliburton 1, Killian Hayes 36, and LaMelo 36 and Killian Hayes like 42. Like I don't think they're in the same conversation at all. And I don't know, like I just remember pre-draft listening to all these podcasts. I read the ESPN draft guide. They were so high on LaMelo. They were telling us, oh, he shoots so much better. The last 12 threes he took, he changed his form and he shot 50% on those. Like he's going to be great. I remember listening to the Low Post podcast with the draft guys from ESPN, and they were talking about how they didn't understand why LaMelo isn't a consensus number 1 pick. This is why. Like everything we're seeing now is exactly why he's not a consensus number 1 pick. His elite attribute is passing, and it's good to be a good passer. But the reason why it works for Simmons and the reason why it works for like LeBron is because they're physically imposing, and you need to collapse the paint. And LaMelo just doesn't have that, and so that's what I'd be concerned about.
That's what I'm saying. We need to readjust our expectations. If his name was like Jalen like Baller instead of Ball, like if he wasn't one of the Ball kids, people would be like a lot more high, like he might have gotten drafted later in a spot that would make more sense for him. And people would be like, look at this playmaking ability. Look at this passing ability. Like, look that he can rebound. Like people would be a lot more excited about it. But because we grew up watching these videos of him taking 30 footers, people are expecting that that's what he's going to do in the league. And that's just not the player he's going to be in the league. He's going to be I think he's Ricky Rubio. I think he's Ricky Rubio with better rebounding. And I think that's a fine player. He could be a top 15 point guard in the league at some point, and that's something. It's something.
I think he's Frank Ntilikina with worse defense.
Oh,
That's what
wow.
I think. That's what I think he ends up being.
He's a lot better than Frank on the offensive end already. But I do like that the
Uh,
Knicks are actually playing Frank a little bit.
Yeah,
Finally.
me too.